Hello and welcome to the Rabblecast. My name is Eric Hernandez, and you are listening to episode number 596. Again, I'm trying to include them, see what I can do with that. And on this episode, it's a little all over the place. I really wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but recently I sat down to watch Extraction on Netflix, starring Chris Hemsworth from Ande Parks and the Russo Brothers. The Russo Brothers from the MCU fame. They got together with Parks, who wrote this graphic novel called Ciudad, and they came up with this really, really cool film that Hemsworth was attached to and did a really fantastic job. So I'll ramble about that, and then I'll ramble about what else. Different people going into different films outside of the MCU and how they were able to parlay what they've done either previous to Marvel and what they can do after the fact. I believe I was using the term of currency. So if somebody, had a few films here and there, and then they go to do a Marvel film, then they become a little bit more well-known, then they're willing to do a few other roles here and there. Or in other cases where, they're already established stars, in the case of Robert Downey Jr., and they can go in there and just pretty much have fun and just see what comes out of it. Go from there, and I go on a small rant about what's going on in the world today, because everybody's living through a difficult time with staying at home, and it's not all fun and games. But again, we try to find a way to have fun, distract ourselves, entertain ourselves, and hopefully educate ourselves in certain respects. And I go through a few different things that we go through. Obviously, I've been talking about movies and films, but we go from there. And to cap it all off, I'm hoping that by the time I can have all of this edited and ready to go, we are celebrating 14 years of the Rabblecast. It's hard to believe that I've been sitting in front of the microphone for 14 years and having fun with friends, having fun with all different types of people out there who have helped out in certain respects here and there. So the show has changed over the years and people have come and gone, but it's always been fun to sit down and have an hour or hour and a half. I don't remember, like 2 hours was the old Libsyn days, where you can sit down, have fun, and do a show and talk about things that you enjoy. So if you've been around for a little while or a few months or for 14 years, a few of you are out there that have been listening since day one, thank you. It's really, really appreciated. And I really have nothing. I have nothing that would be worth giving to you other than to continuing hopefully to do this show. Otherwise, I have no way to repay for your kindness, for your loyalty, for your interest in the show. And I hope that I can continue to entertain people out there and find ways to make this show fun, for not just for myself, for everybody listening as well. So with that said, we are brought to you by InsidePulse.com, the home of the Rabblecast for so long. You can also find us on rabblecast.libsyn.com, where I post the show directly. Check out our Rabblecast page on YouTube, youtube.com/Rabblecast. Check out the Rabblecast Facebook fan page. Send us a tweet at Rabblecast and email us, rabblecast@gmail.com. If you want to send stories, pictures, whatever the case, or just say hi, feel free, rabblecast@gmail.com, and we'll see what else we can do. Again, this is all a process. This is all changing a little bit here and there, but I'll find the new legs of the show, so to speak, and hopefully hit the ground running from there. I'm just trying to keep everybody happy. Is that the right way to put it? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Either way, I hope you enjoy my rambling, and I hope you enjoy the show. Set the scene for you a little bit here. It's warm, probably somewhere around 80 degrees. Ceiling fan is on. Tablet in front of me is on. Obviously the recording device is on, otherwise you wouldn't be hearing me. In the background I have Django Unchained playing on Netflix. Because I just watched another movie on Netflix, Extraction, starring Chris Hemsworth. And that's going to be the main thrust of the episode, I guess you can say. Yeah, let's go with that. Again, because of everything that's going on, it's kind of hard to go out and really have experiences right now. It's kind of difficult to really go out and enjoy all the regular things that you would do on a weekend kind of thing. I have the window open. I'm hoping that it cools down here a little bit. Otherwise, I'm just going to be sweltering. It's not the first time it would be hot in the studio. In fact, some of the studios in the past, this one in particular, would be used quite often when Mike and I would just sit here and sweat our asses off, or Doug and I in the later years. It just became another thing. And earlier tonight, I sat down, figured let's see what's going on. Let's find something to watch. And one of the things that kept popping up over and over again was the movie Extraction with Chris Hemsworth. I figured, okay, let me see what's going on. Let me look up some information on it, see what happens. Chris Hemsworth, if you've been living under a rock for the past 10 years, is Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Most recently in the movie Endgame, all the Marvel characters came together, and of course, Chris Hemsworth pulled off a great performance, not just from Thor Ragnarok, where he was able to let loose a little bit with his character of Thor, but he was also able to play a injured Thor, I would say, in Fat Thor. I don't know what other way to put it. Thor went through a lot of crap in the MCU movies, a lot of loss, a lot of tragedy, so that the final character that we see in Avengers Endgame is just somebody who's been beaten and battered and found a way to come back to, fight alongside his friends and his newfound family in the Avengers and all the other superheroes that came together. So when I saw this movie popping up over and over again, I said, all right, there was one other movie I saw Chris Hemsworth in, and that was Black Hat. It was like a hackers terrorist group. I didn't really look into it too much, because when I sat down and watched it, I had very little to no interest in it. So I was a little put off by it, I guess. I didn't really want to go back to it. Maybe because I'd gotten so used to seeing him as Thor for so long. Some of the other movies he's been in recently, the all-female reboot of the Ghostbusters, he played the secretary. He was essentially their Janine. His was great. I liked the movie overall. A lot of people didn't, but I liked the fact that you found out his comedic timing was there. It was pretty amazing what he could pull off in some of the scenes. And people just, how do I put this? He essentially played the dumb blonde. As far as the all females Ghostbusters, whether you love or hate that movie, whatever the case is, I look at it as a standalone movie paying homage to the older ones. So I could watch it. I enjoyed it for what it was. Recently, I also talked about Men in Black International with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. That movie fell a little flat for me. It didn't have all of the different beats or rhythms you would expect from both of those characters. The script itself was a little odd as you progress through the film. But I sat down to watch Extraction earlier tonight, and I came across some information that I was like, oh, okay, this is a little bit different. I wasn't expecting this. Apparently the Russo Brothers, who were also responsible for movies like Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, they also had their hands in this one, along with the guy by the name of Ande Parks, who I believe did a graphic novel called Ciudad that has this character that Hemsworth plays in Extraction. So let me just give you the synopsis real quick. Again, this is off of IMDb. I just watched the film recently, so it's pretty fresh in my mind right now. Tyler Rake, played by Hemsworth, a fearless black market mercenary, embarks on the most deadly extraction of his career when he's enlisted to rescue the kidnapped son of an imprisoned international crime lord. With that setup alone, at the beginning of the film, you see this boy, he's hanging around town. He's out in a city in India. I don't remember the exact city off the top of my head, pardon me. But he's hanging out with his friends. One of his school teachers reminds him, hey, you should probably go straight home. They really don't tell you who the little boy is at first. He's in his teens, early teens, I would say, mid to early. And out of nowhere, when he's hanging out with his friends, as he's walking home or outside, he gets abducted. He's taken. That's when you find out that the father is an imprisoned criminal, drug lord, and he essentially tells his right-hand man, says, hey, look, go out and get him. And his friend tells him, look, I can't get him. You would need an army to go after this guy. A rival drug lord from another city abducted him just to humiliate him, essentially. Humiliate the imprisoned drug lord, the father. And the guy says, hey, look, this is my son we're talking about. Either you go get him, or your son won't see his next birthday. So threatening his friend or his right-hand man. At that point, the guy's like, all right, shit. He's got to come up with a plan. Chris Hemsworth is a character in this world that's well known for his abilities of getting into places that are tight, either politically or through criminal organizations. So they said, okay, we can get this guy, but shit, he's going to cost an arm and a leg. And the guy, the drug lord in prison, is not going to be able to afford him. His price is out of his reach. So this guy concocts this wild-eye idea. I'm going to hire him and his team. I'm going to pay them up front half, or a portion, I guess, whatever the case is. Once they get the boy, and they're about to do extraction, right, they're about to, the title of the movie, once they're about to do the extraction, and they go to the boat, then the right-hand man is going to go in and take the boy himself and not pay. He's going to essentially say, hey, look, thank you for getting him this far. I'll take it the rest of the way. And that's when all hell breaks loose. Chris Hemsworth's character of Tyler Rake goes out, pulls off an amazing extraction, essentially. He goes against this rival gang, who is essentially a small army in of themselves. They have guns, they have people who are willing to lay down their lives, not to mention the fact that the people or the military that are around enforcing the laws, and probably in the drug lord's pocket, they go after him as well. And at one point, there's a fight scene when they're up in one of the apartments of one of the buildings. I'm sitting there going, wow, this is very, very reminiscent of the one scene from Daredevil, where it was the one hallway fight scene. And it was one take. For a few minutes, you're like, wow, this is pretty impressive. By the end of the movie, when I finally went to go look up some more information on it real quick before sitting down to record, I find out it was 11 minutes and 30 seconds, a one-take action scene. I was like, holy shit. Okay, that's impressive. The Russo brothers really wanted to go out there. Like, all right, we've done this before. Well, I should say we, but it has been done so far as a Marvel character. Let's go out there and see if we can do it with another character using Chris Hemsworth. And they did an amazing fight scene. I was like, holy crap, this is something that I was not expecting. But the action in this movie is crazy, off the wall. It's not off the wall in the sense where things are like blowing up all over the place, and it's kind of plausible, the action with like buildings crumbling or things like that. No, this movie actually did a really good job of showing tactical ability, fighting, gunplay. You've got to watch it. It's kind of hard to describe. The only thing I can think of is when the first Bourne Identity movie with Matt Damon came out, and people were like, "Oh my god, what fighting style is that? Krav Maga? He just beat the crap out of a guy with a book." Yes, it's along those lines where it's impressive to watch visually. The fight scenes play out. The body count is ridiculously high, so if you're not into those kind of movies, be forewarned. But the entire idea of this film is Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake has been hired to go in and extract this boy and get him home safely. Whether you want to talk about the ethics of it, because he's hired essentially by a drug lord and he's going up against another drug lord's men, that's where it gets kind of iffy. The story, it gets to one of those points where you're like, why didn't they do that in the first place? Not to the point where it ruins the story, but you find out that the little boy says, oh no, that's my father's friend. And Chris Hemsworth says, well, I'm not working for him, I'm working for your father. If there's another guy in place, something's gone wrong. Not to mention the fact that the father's friend took out some of the people that were helping out Tyler Rake. So it was just like, oh, okay, it's not just him getting in, getting out, and trying to steal the boy. No, it became personal at one point. and you're going through. I know I'm spoiling part of the movie. Again, if I'm going to be talking about this, be forewarned. I can't go into it without telling you some of the action that happened. But I will not ruin the ending. Because when you finally get to the crescendo of the film, the third act, it's pretty impressive what happens. Again, it just shows Chris Hemsworth able to go out there, play this character that is pretty much a badass, is looking for like that one mission that's either going to put him over the top or probably put him in the grave. That kind of scenario where he's no nonsense, he doesn't take any names, he just goes out there and does the job. At one point, his team tells him, hey, look, things are kind of going sideways, maybe we should abort. He goes, nope, not happening. I'm getting this boy out of here. And you're like, okay, kind of interesting. But I give the Russo Brothers and, who's the other gentleman off the top of my head? Now I'm forgetting. Ande Parks, who wrote the book. I give them credit for taking this story out of a graphic novel, putting it on film, and putting it on Netflix, no less. It's not easy. But the Russo brothers right now have a certain amount of currency when it comes to making movies. After having so many successful Marvel cinematic movies, you would imagine at this point they can pick and choose their projects, and that's what it seems happened here. This movie came out April 24th, so right when everything was like, pretty much locked down, stay home, whatever the case is. A very good excuse to watch a film at home was this. And like I said, it popped up on Netflix when I was browsing through different movies. It popped up on some different podcasts I was listening to where they would say, oh, did you catch this? It's a pretty good movie. And then finally, Netflix sent me one of those app notifications. It goes, we think you'd like Extraction, now playing on Netflix. I figured, okay, you got me. I need to watch something. Let's see what happens. I was pleasantly surprised. And see, this is a tough one. Whenever you watch a movie, nowadays especially because of the way the entertainment works, it always becomes the question of, okay, this was an amazing film. Do you want to see another one? Not everything has to be sequelized. Not everything has to be a franchise. Not everything has to have a continuation. You can have one movie, a one-shot movie, and just leave it at that. This one, on the other hand, I would have to say, I don't know how they would work it out. Again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. Depending on how they go about it, I can see them doing a sequel to it. It was that engaging, that much fun, the roller coaster ride that they put you on, that I would love to see them say, hey, look, here's another adventure. Okay, sure, why not? Again, Hemsworth playing Thor in the Marvel movies, it's nice to see him step out of those films, even if it's still working with the same directors. It's nice to see all of them step out of that world, that universe, and apply their craft at different genres in the film world. Not many of those actors have a chance to do that. Once they get a Marvel movie, and that's actually, maybe that should be something that should be addressed. A lot of actors, when they get a Marvel movie, they get a little anxious, they get a little paranoid, I guess you can say. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, why? They're getting paid ridiculous amounts of money to play these characters. Their comic book heroes come to life. Yes, but what happens is oftentimes they get stereotyped, I guess is the word. They get pigeonholed into these kind of characters where nobody else wants to hire them for anything else. Chris Hemsworth, like I said, has had a few movies outside of the Marvel world and has had moderate success here and there. Chris Evans, who played Captain America for so many years, he himself has had different movies, and depending on the film or the director, again, he's had somewhat success. I'm trying to think of the one he was in. Snowpiercer was a smaller film. I think it was a foreign film, essentially, but was an interesting story where a bunch of dissidents on a train that continually goes around a city. They essentially, all the citizens of the world live on this one train, and they're trying to figure out what the hell's going on at the front of the train. And it's their battle to try to get up there. Think of like, I guess, the Raid Redemption, where you have to fight all the way to the top of the building. Instead of fighting all the way to the top, you're fighting all the way to the front to find out what was the big secret, what was the big lie. that was being told everybody. Trying to think of who else. Mark Ruffalo has had a few films before he was cast as before the Hulk was recast, and when they got Mark Ruffalo, because Edward Norton was the first Hulk. He's had a few films here and there, and I don't really recall too many other movies before he became the Hulk. I know a few titles I've seen trailers for, but nothing that ever drew me to it. Let's see who else. Scarlett Johansson has been around for quite some time now. I think it was The Island with Ewan McGregor. It was a Michael Bay movie. It was a remake of another sci-fi film. That was something. Scarlett Johansson's been in a handful of movies in and out of the Marvel Universe. And again, depending on what the story arc is or whatever genre, it also comes down to the actor. Scarlett Johansson was in the one movie with, oh God, what's his name? I don't remember the actor off the top of my head. It'll probably come to me a little bit. But it was a movie called Don John, more of a guy who hooks up with a girl, like a pretty girl at the club, but he himself has like a porn addiction and he just can't stop, even though he's got the pretty girl. Scarlett Johansson played the pretty girl, and she did a fantastic job. But depending what film she's been in, people are like, oh, Ghost in the Shell is a good example. That also came down with the controversy of whitewashing an Asian character and whether they thought that she was the right pick for it, whatever the case was. It also came down to a lot of people just not being happy with the way that film turned out. So those movies can be hit or miss sometimes. But in a weird way, like they can feel happy or I guess relieved that if you've got a contract with Marvel, depending on the scheduling, you can probably go out and moonlight and do other films here and there. Because you're going to have, again, that currency, kind of like the Russo Brothers and Hemsworth. You're going to have that ability to go out there because you've got money in the bank. You've got jobs lined up, essentially. You just got to figure out what's going on as far as schedule. And you could say, hey, look, I'm free for 6 months. Let's do a film. Let's enjoy this. Let's have fun. They are actors, and that's what they're paid to do. So they will go out there, find different projects, and do different things. You can look at the entire roster of the Marvel world and see them in different films during and before the Marvel universe took off like a rocket. I'm trying to think of the other story that I heard. Benedict Cumberbatch. Not for the Marvel movies, but for the Star Trek movie, which was done by J.J. Abrams, the second one, where they introduced the character of Khan, even though they kept saying up and down, no, it's not going to be Khan. It's not going to be Khan. Benedict Cumberbatch got the movie because I think he had filmed an audition on an iPhone. He had a friend film him, and then he sent it in, and he really was hoping, but when he finally got it, he got paranoid. He got worried. This is the guy who's played, Khan in Star Trek. He also played Smaug in the Hobbit movies, and goes on to play Doctor Strange in the MCU. He got worried because, he was thinking to himself, oh God, I got this big franchise role. What am I going to do? And whatever bar he was in, whatever place he was out on the West Coast, he saw Patrick Stewart and a couple other people hanging out. And he says, oh, this is my chance. And he goes up to him and interrupts him or whatever the case is. He's tried to be polite as he can be about it, but the story goes, he goes up to Patrick Stewart and goes, I need to talk to you. And Patrick Stewart goes, sure, talk to my PR person, my publicist, and we'll set up something. He goes, no, you don't understand. I need to talk to you now. And Patrick Stewart, very, very polite, knows that he just got the role because that's, within the circles, goes, sure, what's going on? He goes, look, I just landed the role of Khan in the next Star Trek movie, and I'm afraid, is this going to ruin my career? It's a funny story because you look back with Patrick Stewart. He's another gentleman who was cast in Star Trek The Next Generation back in the 90s, early 90s, and he's learned to be part of a franchise, to be part of a fandom, and not to be ashamed of it, but to embrace it and embrace all the fun and the excitement that can come from it and all the fans that would come to adore you so long as you do your job and do justice to these characters. And he goes, no, just relax, enjoy the ride. I don't know the exact words, I'm paraphrasing here. But he was able to give Cumberbatch some really good advice to the point where he calmed him down. And Cumberbatch has gone on to be an amazing actor for the MCU. And again, I've seen him in a few other movies here and there. I'm not counting The Hobbit because obviously that was all CGI. But some of the other movies he was in fact, the one that I really want to watch that he was in was, I think, The Imitation Game, where he plays a scientist who created a cipher for the military. One that I've never got around to, but hopefully I will in the near future. He himself is another actor who did an amazing job, because at first, a lot of Marvel movies, they were just getting actors that they could probably afford, or actors that they thought, might not be as big as some people would expect, so they can get away with paying them probably a little bit less. Like Chris Evans really hadn't made it big yet. Chris Evans was known for other films here and there. In fact, if you want to watch another funny movie, like before they were big movie, there was a movie called Not Another Teen Movie. It was somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember the exact release date. But Chris Evans plays the stereotypical jock. Not Another Teen Movie parodies all those 90s movies. Oh gosh, I can't remember some of them off the top of my head. Any of those 90 movies that were really big at the time with Seth Green. What was her name? I gotta look it up. You think you know some of these movies, and you're just like, God darn it, Seth Green. It's gonna pop up in my head, and I'm gonna kick myself. But going back to the 90s, because that's what we do. And I think it was Can't Hardly Wait is popping in my head before I get there. Still scrolling. Wow. Seth Green's been in a lot of movies. Jesus Christ. Let's see here. Sir, you have a laundry list of, you know what? Let's go to another actress. Or actor, I should say. Jennifer Love Hewitt. And let's see what she's been in. She hasn't as many films. I think she dropped off the radar for a while, to be honest. But whatever the case was. All right. Jennifer Love Hewitt and a bunch of different things herself. Tropic Thunder. She was in that? I can't remember that one off the top of my head. All right. Going back to the 90s now. Not that one. Not this one. Party of Five. Okay, we're getting there. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Okay. It was Can't Hardly Wait. 10 Things I Hate About You, and a bunch of other movies from that era where it would be the ugly girl and the jock, or the eccentric friend. They even do like a parody of the character from 16 Candles at one point. But they take all these, those teen drama and comedy movies, mash them in together into a movie called Not Another Teen Movie. And at the time, oh God, look at that, it popped up, third one right there. Didn't even go too far. Let's just go right here. A send-up of all the teen movies that have accumulated in the past 2 decades. Let's see who's in here. Kyler Lee, Jamie Presley, Chris Evans, Eric Christian Olsen, Mia Kirshner, Dion Richmond, Eric Jungman, Ron Lester, Cody McMains, Sam Huntington, Joanne Garcia Swisher, Lacey Chappert, Sam Levine, and a host of other people in there. Even Paul Gleason doing the late Paul Gleason doing a callback to his principal from The Breakfast Club, and Molly Ringwald playing another cameo as the flight attendant at the end of the movie. Chris Evans showed his comedic chops back then. It was a really, really weird movie and role for him. But to think that would later on become our Captain America, just like, oh, wow, okay, well, you've got to pay your due or cut your teeth one way or another. And, well, that's what he did. Gonna go through him and find a bunch of other films he's been in as well. Let's see. Let's go back to Chris Evans. There was an MTV movie. Funny, it was him and Scarlett Johansson in an MTV Films movie back, again, in the 90s. And it was really, really interesting, because when I found out about it, I figured, let me see what these guys did back then. Of course, let's not forget Chris Evans in the Fantastic Four movies. Both Fantastic Four movies. The first one in Rise of the Silver Surfer. I think it's right here. Did I find it? Yes, I did. Scarlett Johansson, Erica Christensen, Chris Evans, and is it Leonard Nam and Brian Greenberg, and The Perfect Score, released in 2004 from MTV Films. There's another one for you. But all this is getting back to Extraction, and the idea that you can do these big blockbuster summer movies, but you could still do these other films, these other roles. I mean, sometimes you have to pay your dues and go up the ranks, and hopefully somebody will notice you. If a director takes, a shine to you, and they'll say, hey, look, you did really well in this project. I want to see what we can do with you in something else. And eventually that, once the ball gets rolling, because that's how it works. The more eyes you have on you, the more people see you, the more they like your work. They realize, oh, okay, let's see what happens. And they'll put you in a different role or a different film or a different story. And all it really comes down to is show them what you got. Back in the day, when I say back in the day, I mean like somewhere around the 80s, 70s, or 80s, the idea of if you were on a TV show, people would say, okay, I've got this job and I'm really hoping I can make it big and get a movie. Nowadays, it's kind of changed a little bit. You can get a movie, you can have a lot of success in that, but nowadays, especially in the world of digital entertainment where people can just stream things left and right or have a rental online, whatever the case is, you don't necessarily have to have a movie to have a hit. TV shows are just as big. At some point, I would say around the early 2000s, it started to take off where a lot of these TV shows, the writing changed. It was not just, simple schlock material. They actually started going for broke, and they were using some of these actors and said, let's try something different. Let's try something new. And when the episodic TV shows started getting a little bit more of a budget, I guess you can say, and paying the writers to put together some really, really good stories, then things changed as well. Because now you can have somebody in a TV show and they don't feel like they're being stigmatized for being on a TV show. They can go out there and do TV and feel just as fulfilled, if not more, than doing a film. So now it's changed a little bit. Now it's really become an open playfield as far as what these people want to do. I feel like I've gotten too far from Extraction. I've been extracted from the point of my little story here. Let me just close out Extraction itself. Fun film. Again, starring Chris Hemsworth. I don't remember the name of the boy who was playing the target or the extractee, essentially. But if you get a chance, again, if you're home, if you're not doing anything else, if you're looking for something to do, if you're looking for something to put on the background, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, I have Django Unchained in the background because, again, I was watching Netflix before, so I just found the next thing that was in one of the categories and just hit play. And I figured, let me sit down. I've got 2 hours myself. Let me see what this is. And I was quite surprised. And I was even more surprised when I saw the Russo's name attached to it, again, along with Ande Parks. For them to pull this story together, I was impressed. I enjoyed it. It's not the be all end all of action films, but it was damn impressive what they did. If they do another one for Netflix, it'd be a welcome addition to what they've already done. And I would love to see Chris Hemsworth try other things. Netflix is another good example of, hey, look, you don't have to be on a TV show or a big blockbuster movie out in the theaters necessarily. Netflix is taking chances with series, with movies, documentaries, comedy specials. They really have the bankroll right now to try different experiments. And that experiment, it really just comes down to a benefit for everybody watching because now there's more content. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that are out there as well. HBO is always, putting things out. Sopranos, Game of Thrones, Avenue 5 was another one that I was watching recently. It's a very dark comedy. Maybe I'll cover that in another episode. Amazon also has a bunch of money for their different TV shows or movies that they're trying to pull together, along with licensing out content from other providers and other movie studios. So there's plenty of stuff to watch. There's plenty of things to do because if you're home and you need to do something, it's not easy right now to get out and do things. Again, every now and then I would give you a story or a little anecdote of something that might have happened to me. I really haven't gone out. Recently, Jen and I took a ride with Kiddo just to go get some food because, one, I needed to get her out of the house because I understand that she was having a tough time just being home all day. And two, like, we haven't seen some of our friends, so we decided to swing by and drop off some masks for a buddy of ours just to make sure that he was okay. And we hung out for a little bit and just chatted. Aside from that, like, my experience really hasn't changed recently. It's, going in, going out of work, doing what I gotta do. There was a story recently that one of our friends, Tiny, or Andrew, went out to the local convenience store and had a situation where somebody ran in not wanting to wear a mask while they were in the store and not understanding why they couldn't be served, why they wouldn't be able to go in and buy whatever they wanted to. There was a little bit of a confrontation from what I was told. I'm getting the story second or third hand, not directly from him. But it all came down to there was a bit of a misunderstanding. Our friend got involved and say, hey, look, don't mean to cause a ruckus here. Just, if you're not going to wear a mask, please leave. And the guy relented after a second, went outside to his truck, and apparently had a mask in his truck. Get this. He's causing all this crap because he says, hey, look, I got to get to work real quick. I don't have time to wear a mask. If you've got one in your truck and before you left your truck, you had a mask, come on, dude. Put the damn thing on and let's not have this right now. For anybody listening, if you can hear my dog in the background, he just woke up. He's a little bit of a haze, but what's up there, buddy? If you come across a situation like that, I mean, you've got to make it your call whether you want to step in and try to solve the problem, or if you're going to be part of the problem. Let's hope not. You've got to decide if you want to step in and help out. And thankfully, our friend decided he was going to do just that. Because right now, again, I've said it a few times here and there, it's not easy. Right now, it's stupid outside. You go to the store, and thankfully, for the most part, from what I've seen when I've gone out, people have been cooperative. People have been easygoing and saying, hey, look, I'm just going to go out there and do what I got to do. I've seen people bunch up from time to time and not be really smart in that respect, but what are you going to do in this case? I'll tell you what. Earlier today, I finally took my bicycle out of the basement. It's been a little bit since I've been able to take a ride around the neighborhood, but it was getting close to evening, and I figured, okay, let me go out real quick. There really isn't anybody outside. I don't have to worry about anybody getting close to me, besides I'm going to be on the road, so I'm not getting near anybody physically. As I rode through my neighborhood, I was actually kind of surprised to see there's a lot of people hanging out on their front lawns or, heading towards their backyards, and they're just hanging out. They're family members. One of our neighbors was outside, the father and mother, and they were out with their 3 kids, and they were, kicking around a ball. And I was like, wow, okay. I didn't even realize there were new neighbors in that house next door or down the street. There was just people going out there playing with water guns or having fun, just tossing a ball around. I was like, okay, this is kind of a throwback. I kind of remember this, growing up in the 80s and 90s, seeing people do something similar. So like, this isn't all bad. There isn't craziness all over the place. So that was a welcome change. But otherwise, there's a status quo right now, and that status quo is, be smart, be safe, and if you can, stay home. Take care of one another. I've said it before. I feel like a broken record now, the amount of times that I've said this. Hopefully in the near future, things will ease up a little bit. Things will reopen. We're getting closer and closer to the summertime. Normally, I'd be excited for the summer, not for the beach or anything else. A lot of other people get excited by that, but blockbuster movies, and that unfortunately has gone away for the time being. All those movies are not going to be opening in theaters in the near future, so we're going to see what happens. By this point already, we should have had a few blockbuster films be released in April and May already, but we have not seen that yet. So with that in mind, it's just, again, things are different. Things are trying to adjust a little bit, I guess is the best way you could say it. But hopefully we could find something to keep us busy. I have been finding a lot of films or TV to keep me entertained. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? If you've got hobbies, that's one thing. I have a lot of friends who like to read books. They crochet or knit or paint, draw, whatever the case is. Do what you can to have fun and stay safe. But don't do it at the expense of somebody else's safety. Realize that we're all really are in this to get together, because whatever we do right now really affects everybody else. Unless you're staying home, at which point then you're on your own, you're by yourself, no worries. But we got to just try to make sure that we don't fuck this up. People are talking about what's going to happen going forward. That was one of the things I actually brought up recently. I'm going on this rant a little bit, so forgive me a little bit. But people are saying, well, how can, things get so bad? Do me a favor, if you have access to it, the very first episode, the series Chernobyl on HBO. You can watch it on HBO Go or HBO Max, whatever the service is going to be in the near future. Chernobyl, and I'm not saying, they're going through the same thing that we did. No, not at all. That's radiation poisoning and exposure. It's different stories. That's apples and oranges. What I'm referring to is the idea of this disaster happening. And, alright, where was I? I had to get the dog out, because he was just starting to be a little loud. So let me go back a little bit. Chernobyl on HBO Go. If you get a chance to watch the series, it's a very, very interesting series. Recreated, I should say, by some really great actors. They did a phenomenal job with it. They, for the most part, stick to the story, but they do create a few scenes in here and there so they can try to get the point across. The main thrust of the story itself is still the same. This horrible tragedy happens where the reactor blows, and rather than fess up to it, a lot of people, for the sake of their careers, their egos, their, you name it, their pride, decide they want to try to cover it up until it's too late. And then, the fallout, I'm not trying to be funny about it. The fallout of the incident happens, and people realize what the heck's going on. That, in that respect, we're living through a very similar time right now, where this all started. I'm not going to sit here and speculate the actual origins of it, because I really don't know. I've heard multiple stories as far as how everything started recently, back in December and January. I don't know the specific origins, but I do know what happened was that when the spread started happening of this virus and people were talking about it and the outbreak and everything else, some people were trying to keep it quiet. Some people didn't want to, confess that there was a problem. They didn't want to announce it to everybody else that, hey guys, we're having trouble here, and maybe you guys should take necessary steps to close your borders or restrict travel or start checking your citizens for this possible virus. Nothing like that happened. Everybody else just started to sweep it under the rug, talk about it in hushed tones, talk about it quietly behind closed doors, and we are where we currently are. Now, whatever your case, whatever your stance on it is, again, I'm not going to get into it. I'd rather just, say, let's try to get through this. Let's try to be positive. Let's try to help one another. And again, stay safe, be smart, and do what you can to help people, if possible. If not, to stay at home and take care of one another. With that in mind, it's just the best way to go about it right now. There's too many people out there, excuse me, too many people out there doing finger pointing and blaming everybody else. Nobody has come forward to say, I fucked up. I don't think you can in this case. It's kind of difficult to say, I'm in trouble, or I've done something that, to shoulder the blame, whatever the case is. Let's get past that. That's why I talk about a lot of the films and TV series and things that we've been watching or doing around the house, just to enjoy. I've been watching the news less and less, only because it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again, especially with the sensationalized headlines of such and such humiliates this, such and such drops a bombshell as far as this confession, whatever the case is. It's gotten silly and ridiculous, and everybody wants to have the breaking news, and the 24-hour news cycle it becomes exhaustive after a while, along with everything else that's going on. So I really don't know what's going to be happening I'm I'm trying to do my best just to keep myself entertained, keep myself educated on certain things, moving forward in a sense. I'm not trying to get bogged down by everything that's going around in the outside world. Yes, I miss friends. Yes, I miss all the different things that we used to be able to do on a regular basis. Things are different now. So that's why I talk about movies. That's why I talk about TV shows. That's why I'm going to be probably taking a foray into audiobooks. Hell, I listen to a lot of podcasts as it is. Might as well try to find some other form of entertainment that I have not tried yet. And who knows, maybe I'll try picking up a few hobbies here and there. By the time I actually sit down and do something new, everything's going to start reopening and people are going to be going back to work. And I'm like, gosh darn it, why didn't I do this sooner? But whatever the case is. That's about it. And that was my 2 cents on on Extraction. I don't know why I got into a rant about the current situation, but again, it's kind of hard not to talk about it in a certain sense. But if you're home, you've got access to Netflix, or if you have your friend's account and they accidentally left their login and password at your place, look into it. Chris Hemsworth, the Russo Brothers, Ande Parks. I was pleasantly surprised. I would probably watch it again. I would definitely recommend it to friends out there. Definitely recommend it to anybody who's listening to this. See what's going on, and then we'll see what else we can get into as far as different things. And you know what? Let's I'm about to do it, and I think I did it last year too. I am currently recording, and I think I'm a day short. Well, by the time this goes up, it'll be on the day of. This is the 14-year anniversary of the show. So I'm looking here. Yeah, 14 years that I've been sitting down either with friends or by myself or looking up information and going through. This is a 14-year of the Rabblecast. And I don't know how I feel about that one. Only because I know that there's 14 years worth of episodes. There is close to 600 at this point episodes of me just rambling with friends, whether it was wrestling, movies, experiences, different things that have gone on. And it feels a little somber only because I'm sitting here by myself talking about it. If you're out there and you've enjoyed the show, whether you're new to the show, I've been a long time listener, if you've lingered longer, as we used to say, stealing from Opie and Anthony back in the day. Thank you. Thank you so much, because this has been a lot of fun. And it continues to be fun for me, even if I'm sitting here by myself. I might not have as much to talk about recently. I might not have somebody sitting across from me who can give me their feedback and their views. But this has been a roller coaster ride in of itself. Getting ready for shows, going out to different studios, finding places to record, changing equipment, whatever the case was. It's always been something new, something different over the years. And in that respect, I look forward to this continuing and having fun with it and see what I can come up with, see what I can do going forward. I don't know what I can do. I don't know what this is going to bring at this point. We've gone to Comic-Con. We've had some fun. We've gone to other shows. We've been, invited to wrestling shows to do different things. We'll see what happens. Because when I know I've mentioned it in the previous episodes, 13 going on 14 years, and I sat down and I said to myself, oh crap, that anniversary is coming up. In fact, I thought I missed it last week. After I finished recording, I thought to myself, oh crap, I missed the anniversary. I feel like an ass. No, it's by the time this goes up, hopefully, it'll be 1 year since the release of the first episode, 14 years back. And I almost cringe to think about how that episode sounded. I know that I've grown 14 years. I know that things have changed quite dramatically since back then. Multiple jobs, different experiences. Hell, I have a son. I'm about to have another child on the way. So by the time this comes out, things have definitely... I've lived a life. I can say that. I've gone through a lot of different things. And if you've been along for the ride, if you've heard a lot of different moments that I've talked about, then I appreciate it. Because, I don't know, I wanted to tuck this in at some point in the episode. I didn't really want to leave it off at the very end because it seems kind of kind of like a down note for me in a way for 14 years. But I don't want to see humdrum about it. It definitely is something that I enjoy. It's continued to be a weekly therapy session ever since I started recording again, and things have changed a little bit. So in that respect, it hasn't changed that much in that respect from when Doug and I were doing it. So I'm getting it out there. I'm just talking to an empty room. So, but again, I'll try a few different things going forward. I'll try a few experiments, and I'll see what we can come up with. When I say we, I mean me. Although, no, I should say we. Jen's been helping me out, and she's come up with some new artwork for the title card. So we're going to try to put a few things out there for YouTube, for Libsyn, and for Inside Pulse, and see what we can do. And again, just keep moving forward. That's what we got to do. Be smart, be safe, and just keep moving. So if you've been listening for a week, a month, a couple of years, 14 years, again, I just got to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for listening. We are the Rabblecast.